Okay, I want to try and talk about stances and footwork, okay? Because that's really the foundations of any technique you try to apply. It's useless without a means of delivery. And your footwork really forms the foundation of anything it is that you try to do. So, and as I've explained, I like to keep things simple. All right, I don't have a lot of advanced, exotic-looking stances. It's all pretty straightforward. First is just your standard, what I call a receptive stance, okay? The receptive stance and the assertive stance, okay? You can barely even tell the difference. It's just shifting the weight a bit from the rear leg to the forward leg, okay? And this is also sometimes called a 60-40 stance or a 40-60 stance, depending on which leg it is that you're putting the most of the weight on. Because I realize people might get that crisscrossed, I like to call it receptive, assertive, okay? Receptive stance, from here, your receiving technique, okay? Somebody coming at you, this puts you in a defensive position, in a position to redirect, to change, to go into a throw, okay? And shifting the weight to the forward leg, that's an assertive stance. That's moving forward. That's getting ready to pounce, okay? And then very similar to this is what they call a false stance or an empty stance, all right? And that's where pretty much all of the weight, about 90% of your weight is on your rear leg, and you're just barely balancing on the forward leg. And the reason for this stance is to bait somebody, to draw them in. So it's kind of a feint. And the idea is to have that forward leg ready to spring into action, okay? So one example, if somebody is further away outside of your reach and they approach, if you have superior reach, if you have longer legs than they do, well, then you can bring that leg up to kick, okay? So you're already in position, you bait them to come forward, and you kick, all right? If they have superior reach to you, they have longer limbs, well, then you can bait them to come in. Maybe they throw their own kick, but then you can move it. You can deflect that kick and then come in for a strike, okay? Come in for a counter. Then there's the low stances, okay? And this is probably the most exotic looking stance that I do, and it's a low crossing stance, okay? It's like this. And the way that this one works, your left foot comes in line. Okay, get back to the foundations here. So say you're practicing Qigong or something like that. You know, a normal relaxed posture is with your feet about shoulder width apart, okay, and your body facing forward. I don't do this in fights, okay, because it presents a large target. It presents a lot of area for a person to strike. So always present a smaller target as possible. Keep as few of your limbs out there as you can to avoid them getting hit unless you're trying to bait somebody, all right? So, all right, from this relaxed training posture, okay, your feet are about shoulder width apart. When you go into the crossing stance, what you're actually doing is you're taking the left foot, putting it in line with the right shoulder, and hopefully I'm getting this on the camera right, and the right foot comes back and is about in line with the left shoulder, okay? So then, and then you turn your body slightly. That way you're presenting a smaller target, okay? Now, this stance is good for a lot of things. It's very dynamic, and that's why I like it, okay? And it does take some practice to get the leg strength to be able to hold it for a considerable amount of time. So practice this one. But let's start to get into the footwork a little bit, show the dynamics of this stuff, okay? So from this crossing stance, all right, firstly, just by pivoting, well, then you can go into an assertive stance or a receptive stance, okay? Pivot back, we're right back into this position, okay? Now, how does this work in actual combat? Well, firstly, you don't usually start off like that, do you? No. You got to start off like this, okay? But when somebody comes at you, throws an attack, whatever it is, swings a weapon, whatever they happen to be doing, okay? First thing you want to do is move off center, move off of the line of attack. The line of engagement, okay? Shortest distance between two objects is a straight line. What they're wanting to do is close that distance as quickly as possible and hit you with whatever weapon they have, whether it's a fist, a baseball bat, a knife, whatever it is that they have, they're coming at you, okay? Rather than trying to come up with different techniques to address each one of those situations, let's deal with these things in a way that works for all situations, okay? So, another principle that I use, another part of my foundations, you can't really see this from this angle, but it helps to think of your stance as resting on a triangle, okay? So your feet are always moving from one point of the triangle to the other, all right? And what that does is that keeps you on the line of attack to receive it, but then as it comes in, you step immediately off of the line of attack, okay? So the first thing that you're going to do then, when the attack is coming at you, is move off center from it, okay? From here, you can then receive the attack. You can catch the limb, okay? Say they're throwing a punch, all right? So you move that, you deflect it, and you trace a C. That's the next dynamic thing. That's the next movement that you need to learn, tracing a C, okay? That's a large crescent. We're going to get into the small crescent in a minute. So trace a large crescent, drop down, okay? What this does is it brings them off balance, brings you off the line of attack while bringing them off balance. Then you drop down. Dropping your center of gravity, you get this other angle so that you can see what I'm doing here. Okay, so, all right. The attack has come this way. You trace the C, and then you drop your center of gravity. You bring your arms in. You caught the limb. You bring it in. You bring it all down here, okay? So they've gone off balance. You're off the line of attack, and then you've pulled them down. Okay? From here, they can go on straight down to the ground, okay? And then here's your next position. I'm going to get into this one in a second. You bring them to the ground, apply your finisher, okay? Example, I don't know, let's say we take that offending limb and we drop it, drop the knee down on the elbow, like dropping an axe, okay? Like you're chopping it, okay? And then there you go, there's your finisher. Now that we're in this position, let's talk about this for a second. Okay, this is our kneeling stance. From here, this is what you would use if you were practicing your rolls, for instance, okay? If you're practicing ukemi, if you're practicing rolling, which is another dynamic form of movement that you can use for evasion, this is a position that you would start in. So it's a natural position for us to use because we've presumably already been practicing it, okay? So you can roll forward from here, you can roll backward, all right? And those are ways of evading, okay? And this is also a way of bringing somebody down to the ground. So, and all this really is taking the crossing stance and dropping it down, okay? So that you're stable on two legs. Now this crossing stance and this kneeling stance, these are really my response to the traditional Kung Fu low stance, or maybe they call it a bow stance, I can't remember now. But anyway, so this technique, this stance, the reason I don't like this is it puts the leg right out there, okay? And unless you're trying to really bait somebody in and bring them in, and then, I don't know, you want to launch some powerful upward attack or something like this, this is dangerous, okay? Because it's way out there, and it's really easy just to come down on that leg and snap it, and you're done for, okay? So my approach, bring it in, but keep it tight and present a smaller target. Present less for them to attack, okay? Now, as far as movement in these stances, I've already talked about on the kneeling stance. Okay, I don't really have room to take a roll here, but okay, so you would be rolling from this shoulder onto this hip is the way that works. You turn your body into a ball. That's how you roll forward, roll backward, opposite way, okay? if you are in the low crossing stance, you can also step by continually crossing and uncrossing your legs, okay? This keeps the groin covered, all right? So that's another advantage over like the horse stance. This is great for practicing. This is great for training leg strength, good for dynamic tension and that kind of thing. The groin is wide open. Bad move, okay? So this has the same effect of bringing your low center of gravity and keeping you stable while protecting the groin, okay? Now, this type of stance can also be used when you're trying to sneak around, when you're trying to sneak by. Okay, I've used this when I was out hunting, for instance. It keeps you low, keeps you in cover, allows you to move through space without presenting yourself too much. The other great thing about it, and this is where we're going to get into the crescent step, is that when you're stepping, you can see this, your feet are moving in a circle, okay? What this does out there in the world, if you're trying to stay in cover, is that this moves brush and debris out of your way, allows you to feel the ground beneath you, okay? From an upright position, it's kind of the same thing, all right? You're tracing these little crescents with your feet. Step back, get this again, okay? So there's an outside sweeping crescent like this, and there's an inside crescent, okay? So you can move like that. All right, just tracing those small C's everywhere you go. That allows you to feel the ground beneath you, allows you to move debris out of the way. Okay, well, sure, this is all well and good, but we're all not hunters, okay? We're not all trying to be ninjas. Okay, fine. How does this apply in combat? Well, if you practice using those little crescent steps, what that does is if somebody is coming at you, typically you're paying attention to their upper body. And some people are smart, and they know to use low attacks, okay? They know to use what in Kung Fu they would call the targets of the monkey, okay, the lower body targets. And you can do a lot of damage to somebody when they're paying attention up here, okay? They're trying to box, and you just come in and crack an ankle, okay? Or nail a shin, all right? If they happen to know that too, they try to take out your legs, but you're used to moving in these little crescent shapes. What you're actually training yourself to do then is to deflect those attacks while moving in for your counter, okay? So that's where the crescent step comes in combat. And I think that's about it. Recapping, low crossing stance, you can pivot, you can change, oh yeah, I forgot to do that one. Okay, so we're in a low crossing stance, you pivot into an assertive stance, shift back into a receptive stance, or just go on and pivot all the way around. Now we're in a low crossing stance again on the opposite side. Okay? But that stance drops the center of gravity, allows you to go into a throw or a takedown. The upright stances, if you practice crescent stepping, helps you to deflect low attacks while setting up counters. Okay? And then the kneeling stance, which allows you to roll forward and backwards, allows you to attack. That's another aspect of that one. So from up here, if you want to attack the lower body using the upper body, okay, ideally if you have, let's say, we'll just use this. Imagine we've got a yawara here, okay? So this is actually a beater for a musical instrument, but anyhow. Okay, so if you're up here and you want to attack the lower body, like say, take out the knee, okay? Then you can move into that low kneeling stance, okay? And then from here, you can rise maybe uppercut to the jaw, I don't know, just for example here, okay? But it's good to practice transitioning from one stance to another, okay? And to learn the different ways of applying those in combat situations. So, once you've learned them, once you've trained with them, play around with it a little bit, okay? See what works in a controlled environment before you have to use it out there in the real world. I'm sure eventually I'll remember some other things that I've forgotten, but for now, that's enough to give you a little bit of a foundation. Hope you liked it, hope that it's helpful, and we'll see you later.